2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
All right, we are here, albeit a little on the tardy side. Remember tardy? You were tardy at school. I was quite tardy in high school. I made a career in being tardy. I'm sure that it was on my record, as they say. Let me adjust the mic here. Oh, that should be so much better. God bless the black pitch. How is everyone this morning? We're kind of recovering from whatever this thing that they've dumped upon us here in Texas. Feels very much like a contagion of sorts. I don't think it's merely just cedar fever. I think it may be something in the skies as well, if you know what I mean. Because they have been spraying quite frequently. Why hasn't our great president done anything about that? Do you think he even knows about chemtrails? Why doesn't somebody ask him a question like that at a press conference? Mr. President, we want to know what you are planning on doing about chemtrails. About what? Then he'd have to explain it. Well, as you know, I'm very into the quality of the air. We must have good air to breathe. And my administration has done more than any other administration to make sure that the air that we breathe is the air. And we'll continue to lead the way and make sure that Americans have the best air that they can possibly breathe. We've got great air here in America, some of the best in the world. So I think you could be breathing China's air. All right, let's do a real quick drive-by. Let's see who's here. Oh, man. I still have morning eyes. Do you know what morning eyes are? Morning eyes are when your eyes aren't fully engaged. Oh, boy. So we're going to have to do something a little bit different here today. We're going to have to zoom in. Okay, who do we have? DJ MC in the house. Jam Chloe. Janice, in your prayers. A lot of prayers out there. Had a lovely client yesterday. You want to see astrology in action. Boy, I had it yesterday. Client has a Virgo at 6 degrees on the IC, right? 6 degrees on the IC. So that means the eclipse is on her IC. And what does she do? She kicks her, unfortunately, drug-dependent son out of the house. And I'm sure we've all had a version of that somewhere in our lives. And it happened that day. So having a reading where the the aspects are literally happening in real time, and going through that with the person is it's pretty mind blowing. And then I got a call from her or a text from her later in the day, and she found out that her best friend had just died. Best friend for over 30 years. So I know it says prayers. That's just my thoughts are with you. Uh, and we'll just go by her first name, Heather. And no, not that Heather. But my thoughts are with you. And it's just an example of the intensity of the world that we live in. I mean, we live in such a time of cognitive dissonance, because again, the world around us basically remains the same. Like the same houses I can see from the backyard, and there are people that are populated in those houses. And I walk out to the street, and there are people coming out of their houses. Those houses are still there. The semblances of their lives are still there. I go into town and have my little breakfast once a week at this local diner, which is exceptional, and it's still there. And the people that dine there are still there, even though there's different versions of them, and some of them are old and die off. They're replaced by other. I mean, it's all, there's this semblance of continuity in our lives, and yet beneath the surface of all of that is very deep. Very deep wounding and very deep pain. And the two pictures don't match. Right? It's not like it's not like we're living in these dystopic conditions yet. And people's response to that is equally as extreme or dystopic, because the environment those are weird pictures. They're weird pictures, and they're incongruent realities, and it's cognitively dissonant. And I think that's such a strange effect of our world that we're currently occupying. People, there's always this sort of debate, right? Well, people were always this way, and we just didn't notice. And I don't agree with that. People weren't always this way. People, didn't get. I mean, yes, there was drug addiction, but I mean, at one point in time, drug addiction was, it was an urban thing, right? Like it was, you got drugs in places like New York or Chicago or San Francisco, and the drugs that you got, the addictive drugs, were opiates. It was heroin. That was the drug problem in the country, and it was a very small percentage, and it was limited to those areas. But then what happened was that we've had a series of malfunctions, misfires, tragedies, all the things that have thrown spanners in the gears of our social mechanisms, which would be things like employment and work, and relationships between men and women. Even this idea of what a man or a woman is. I mean, we can go down that rabbit hole. Nothing is the same, and it's just not the same. And so then you have drugs, which became ubiquitous, and it really, really started with methamphetamine. And meth just blew through people's lives, and was cheap. And this is a Pisces conversation, by the way. and it was cheap and addictive. And so meth is really the first, like, I mean, you could say maybe cocaine or crack, but even like crack, that's an inner city drug for the most part. Even though there are professionals who do crack, it's mostly an inner city drug. And there's like a weird stigma with crack. Like if you smoke crack, you're like hanging out with crackheads. And I mean, it's like you're taking on a social persona, or you're rubbing shoulders with people that are not good people. They're not. I don't mean to be judgmental against crackheads, but they like I've been around a few. They're not easy people to be around. They're paranoid. They're always looking to get rock. I mean, it's just it's not a great community. It's not like, hey, here's my people. Your people wind up on the fucking streets, okay? But then the real killer, the real game changer is OxyContin. And OxyContin becomes ubiquitous, and it's created by the Sackler family, and they are drug dealers, drug merchants, and people start taking oxy because the doctors are prescribing it like like it's candy, and people have it to manage pain. But it's an opiate, right? It's the same thing that people in the inner cities back in the 70s would use. I mean, and even using a needle to put drugs in your system and tie up your arms, and I mean the whole ritual of it is so elaborate, and most people hate needles anyway. So there was always a cap, right? There was always a cap with how many people could actually become heroin addicts. It's not for everyone. But then when they put it in a pill form and turn it into OxyContin, and then you have people who are in physical pain, but they're also in emotional pain and emotional duress, whether it's from losing their job or their marriage going sideways or whatever. And now you've got a bunch of people who are hooked on oxy. And then eventually it's like, well, we got to stop that. And then we have fentanyl. We have a huge fentanyl problem. And the fentanyl, of course, comes from Mexico. And is pretty much manufactured in China, or the Chinese have gone out of their way to set up the fentanyl labs in Mexico and bring it across the border. And fentanyl's really dangerous. Like it's deadly. I mean, it could send you into a death spiral. And again, it's ubiquitous. And it's like when you add up all these drugs, that have infiltrated our system. And then you have people who are going through trauma or crisis, whatever that trauma or crisis is. And there seems to be more trauma and more crisis than there ever has been. And people say, well, it's always been this way. No, it hasn't always been this way. It hasn't always been this way. If one of these days I'll go back and I'm going to do a show on 15 Minutes of Flame, and I'll go back and I'll read newspapers from 10. We'll do an exercise. We'll do like 40 years back, 30 years back, 20 years back, 10 years back, 5 years back, and we'll do front pages, and I'll show you how it's not the same world. We are living in a very difficult and trying time, and things like I bet you, if I asked you guys in chat, how many people do you know, either directly or through another person, committed suicide? I'm sure we'd be shocked by how many people with 1 or 2 degrees of separation would raise their hands. I mean, I could raise my hand. My client yesterday, that's one, and then her friend, 30 years. So right there. And I've had many clients who've had to endure suicide with family, friends, loved ones. And we watch this thing where people, what is it? Deaths this week, legacy.com. And you know how many suicides come up on legacy.com? And these are the only reason we know about them is because these are well-known people, famous or semi-famous. And it's like, God, it's terrible. So I didn't mean to get us off on a heavy note, but we're still in the throes of this eclipse, and it was a doozy yesterday. Let me tell you. Anyway, why don't we get into the weather? Chataria, hello, good morning. How are you? I hope everyone is doing well. And if you know somebody who is having a hard time, it's sometimes you do the best you can, and maybe sometimes it has an impact, and you're able to help that person, and maybe sometimes you don't, and you can't, and it's not your fault. It's just not your fault. And I look at Mars and Pisces, and I wouldn't say it's suicidal, but there is something about Mars and Pisces, because remember the Pisces is ruled by the 12th house, so we have an intercepted house here today. When we do this, we always show up in the 12th house. It's like our own private sanctorum. I suppose if I was smart and really wanted to use astrology as a magic tool, I would do the show at 7 a.m. Although for you people in California, that'd be 5 a.m. I'd lose you. But that would put the sun in the first house, and that means that I would be on full display. Maybe my subscribers would go up. It's an interesting thought experiment. Maybe when we go back to the old time, daylight savings time, I might start doing this at 7 a.m. So for you people in New York, East Coast, 8 a.m., you can handle it. It's just the West Coasters I'm a bit concerned about. Anyway, Mars and Pisces. When I think of Mars and Pisces, I think of drowning, actually. And I think of being taken under the waves, right? That's what I think of. I think of being taken under the waves, beneath the waves, and then dealing with this sense of overwhelm, and because Mars is in Pisces, there's this feeling that there's nothing I can do about it. Like there are these sandbags that are around my ankles, and and I can't really do anything. And I feel like that's part of Mars and Pisces. You want to do something, you want to motivate, you want to move forward, you want to have some positive energy, but it's almost like the inertia or these walls of water are falling in kind of around you. And it reminds me of a scene from one of my favorite movies of all time, Women in Love, which is based on the D.H. Lawrence novel. And it is directed by Ken Russell, who I think is one of the great directors of the 20th century. and Nicholas Ray is his cinematographer, and it stars Alan Bates and Oliver Reed and Glenda Jackson and what's her name, Maggie Smith, and it's a really interesting look at two couples in just the slightly post-Victorian era, just slightly post-Victorian. And there's a scene in that movie where there's this young couple, and it's at some kind of a festival or gathering or event in their village, and this young couple is very much in love, right? They're in the bubble, the bubble when you first are really chemically bonding with another person, and it just feels incredible, right? They're in the bubble, and you just see them. It's not like they're main characters or anything, but for maybe 10 seconds of the movie, they become very memorable because of their sort of unconscious um, their unconscious bliss, where they're unaware of everybody around them. And then later in the movie, they go missing, and then they eventually find them in this lake together, and they've kind of fished them out of the lake together, and they're in this embrace together. And it's like, it's a really, really weird and dark image, that in some ways the commentary is that they had reached this state of absolute perfection and emotional and probably sensual union. And it doesn't get much better than that, right? Everything else after that becomes like the play of gravity in two people's lives, if you believe in gravity, whatever. You know what I'm talking about. And it's a strange moment. It's like, do they realize that their love will somehow be, I don't want to use the word perverted, but will their love be tainted? Will it ultimately degrade into the tedium of everyday life and the things that go along with it, contracts and appointments and schedules and ultimately aging? And so do they make this conscious decision to Mars? And this is I'm talking about Mars and Pisces here, right? Do they make this conscious decision that they're going to end their lives together? Because in that moment, in that chemically enhanced hormonal soup that they're in, it will never get better than that. And this is what Lawrence is saying, that it will never get better than that moment. And everything after that moment is like the fall of man. That's what it looks like, right? So it's a very interesting image in a very powerful movie, and it feels like Mars and Pisces really brings that energy, and it's like it'll never get better than this, or it will never get better. And there's this real sense of collapse, but it's a rapid collapse with Mars and Pisces. You know what I mean? It's it's like the emotional elevator just can go straight down. Now, I'll give you something to hang your hat on with Mars and Pisces, because it's like, Jesus, Robert, what a downer. Mars and Pisces can be creative, and creative expression is essential, in my experience, for maintaining one's mental health. You must have creative expression. And everybody has a creative cell in their body. I don't care what it is. Everybody's got a tiny piece of creative, because that's God, and for some people, they really kind of go for it, right? It's like everything is creative and everything is art. And you see this ways with the selfie generation, because they themselves become their own artistic creation. And you see these kids now that are getting plastic surgery at a young age. Like, you'll see these young dudes who are hitting gyms and, basically chatting out. And they're like, well, I need a stronger jawline and I need this and I need that. And that in and of itself is kind of it's creative, right? It's the body as the primary focus of self-creation, whether you agree with it or not. That's the extreme. I mean, maybe you like to make pies. Maybe pies are your thing, or maybe you are into, I don't know, miniatures. I mean, this is the thing that keeps us in some ways alive, and we have to have that in our lives so that we can process our mental and emotional and spiritual health. Creativity and imagination is a gift from God. It's a gift from God. And it's given to us so that we can display those things. Now, for some people, being creative and imaginative, again, it may not be your cup of tea, right? Like, I was for whatever reason, I started to search this person named Doja Cat. And Doja Cat is this rapper. And she kind of came around on SoundCloud. And she had this one tune. She decided that she was going to, now she's a Libra, right? And I believe she's a Libra with a Scorpio rising. So she decided that she was going to figure out how to make beats and sort of talk over it. So she did it, and she put it up on SoundCloud, and somebody discovered it, and eventually she winds up signing this major label deal. And I went through and I looked at this person, and I thought to myself, well, they're really fucking creative. And normally, and what I've seen about this person is that, I mean, they check all the Illuminati boxes. You know what I mean? It's like this shit. And there's one image of her where she's just sort of painted in, she shaved her head and she's painted in red and glitter. I mean, she looks like she's the fucking devil, right? And so I'm looking at this, and I'm trying to look at this from a dispassionate point of view. And it's like, what I saw was somebody who was very creative. Now, you may not like her creativity or what it ultimately looks like, but it's like, this is how this person is working out who they are. And she's got complex DNA. Her father is a Zulu dancer from South Africa, and her mother is like this kind of Jewish art maven. And the father was in town in New York for this play called, I think it's called Serafina. He was a dancer in the show. And I guess the mother liked the guy, right? And then they hooked up. So she's got kind of Ashkenazi and Zulu DNA. I mean, think about working that out, right? And I thought, I don't really agree with sort of the overall presentation and where it's leading, young people. Like, the moral side of me, the Virgo side of me kicks in. But then the other parts of me look at what she's doing. I said, that's pretty fucking creative. Right? This is a person who is whether you like her or not, this person is an artist. And here's the weird thing about art. And this is a very Piscean discussion because we have so much Pisces. And if there is something redemptive about Pisces, it's art and it's imagination and it's creativity. This is where Pisces excels like no other sign. And we have so much of it right now. I mean, look at this. It's like a fish parade. And the thing about art and the thing about imagination is that if you're a true artist, you don't judge your creation. Do you know what I mean? You don't judge it. Right? I mean, it's like it comes through you, and maybe it's something that might be dark, or it might have elements in it that people may scratch their heads or shake their heads or turn away, right? Or it may have absolutely stunning, beautiful, inspiring energy and exquisite detail or deep feeling, right? And you don't judge that either. It's like that's the nature of Pisces. It's mutable, and it doesn't attach itself to any one thing, right? Like, Quincy Jones. I told this story last week, and Quincy Jones said he was being interviewed. It was one of his last interviews. It's a crazy interview. And he asked the guy who's interviewing, hey, what's your sign? The guy says, oh, I'm a Pisces. And Quincy Jones got really animated. He says, so am I. He says, it's the best fucking sign. It's the most creative. And I'm bringing this up today because we're living in a very intense time, and we're still in this Virgo moon, and we're in the sort of the shadow, a bit of the shadow of the eclipse. And the Virgo moon is really judgmental. And it's like, what are you doing? Why are you doing this? And, whatever it is you're doing, it's, it's not holy, or it's not sacred. It's, of the devil, or it's dark, or, I mean, there's, or even it's not good enough. It's not good enough. And I'm here to cheer you on, each and every one of you, to cheer each and every one of you on in this very deeply, very emotional Piscean time, because emotions are running rampant. We have something going on in the Middle East, which doesn't seem like it's going to resolve itself anytime soon. And so I urge you to be creative and to find your creative pulse so that you can deal with what's going on in the world. Art and creativity, and there's a difference between being creative and an artist. I think I'm creative. I wouldn't call myself an artist. I've been around artists, and they're exceptional, right? Whether it's music and they can just pick up a guitar or drums or anything, and it's just like, man, you're fucking good. You're an artist, and they put it all together. Or somebody who's a exquisite painter, or somebody who does who's really good with drawing, and you can really capture a face and a body, and like those, to me, those people are artists. They're real artists, and it takes time and effort to hone those skills. Being creative is a bit different. They come off the same tree, But being creative means like the thumbnail for today's show. I was like, okay, well, what do I want to do for a thumbnail? And I had an idea, but it didn't work out. And so I'm looking around. I'm like, okay, well, we're going to get into our star of the day. I may as well put it up because we're running behind time. And today's star of the day is the state of Vermont. And so what I did is I found a picture of the state of Vermont, and I found it online. And then I took it into an effects and filter program, and I kind of tweaked it and gave it a different look and vibe, because you don't really, I mean, there's water there, but what is it? Where is it? Right. So for me, that was my goal, was to, and by the way, that was somebody else's image, and I get really sort of looking for, I don't like to take other people's stuff, right? And so if I take that and then I do something to it, it's no longer the same thing that they created. It's kind of like sampling. So I don't feel bad about taking somebody else's image, because I did something else with it. I created a different image it's not the same image, right? So anyway, I'm urging you to be creative, and in a time where it feels like heaven is crashing around us, this is where we have to be the most creative. We have to, this is the most revolutionary and rebellious thing you can do. All right, let's talk about Vermont. Vermont, well, first of all, we have to get into our star of the day, which is True Hemp Science, and our very good friend Chris over at True Hemp Science. And I have to have the visual here, and we have some Hypnotica. And all you got to do is go over there and spend $100 or more and get some of the best CBD you'll ever find. This is lab tested, organically grown, and it is right here in the state of Texas. And it is a local business. He supports people that work at the business, right? You're supporting him, and he's been honing this. This is his creative act. He's a Pisces. This is his creative act right there. And even like you look at the font, the typeface, it's all part of it. So if you spend $100 more, type in 15MINS, you will get the goodie bag on top of your order. And the goodie bag will have things in there that you're going to like. Like, this is one of the things you'll probably get. A little package of maybe Starlight or whatever Chris has around, and maybe a couple of vials of some other stuff. And it's like, wow, let me check this out, right? So it's a bonus on top of your order. And the more that you order, guess what? The goodie bag stuff tends to get a little heavier. There's a little more thrown in. So I'm under so much stress today. Yeah. Somebody just sent me this text. I'm under so much stress today with my family bullshit. Yes. Okay. Anyway, TrueHempScience.com. Go there. Support them. And improve the quality of your life and money. All right. In the brief period of time we have here today, happy birthday, Vermont. That's right. Happy birthday, Vermont. I was going to do Henry the Navigator today. Oh, I know why I didn't do him. Because there was a Julian time and then there's a Gregorian time, and the charts aren't the same. And I try to be consistent here. Oh, by the way, happy birthday to Paula Prentice. She's still around, still married to Dick Benjamin. And the thing I love about Paula and Dick is that they keep taking pictures together no matter how old they get. It's beautiful. It's really beautiful and cute. Really cute. So hats off to both of them. All right, let's check out Vermont. Look at all that fourth house stuff. So there's something very traditional about Vermont, isn't there? With the moon, but it's a balsamic moon, right? Like that's a good place for aged cheese. You can get good aged cheese in Vermont because it's balsamic, right? You want to age that cheese. Vermont is a cheese producing state. We know that. It's also, a place that kind of old souls gather. Of course, you have the University of Vermont, and isn't Bernie Sanders a Vermont guy? Isn't that where he's from? Well, he's not from there, but that's where he sort of took over, right? But it's I'm sure it's a quirky place with old souls. I've spent a little time in Vermont, not a ton. I think I experienced my first magic bed when I was a kid. My family was traveling. We stopped at this hotel. I might have been about 4 years old, and they had one of those, the magic beds where you put the quarters in, they start to shake. I didn't realize till later in my life that the magic bed performed a particular function that was somehow related to what people do on beds. But I thought it was great. It was like a fucking amusement park ride. But look at all the Pisces down there in the fourth house. Sun, Mars conjunction. Like if you wanted to hide out, Vermont's your place. If you wanted to get lost, Vermont is your place. If you're looking for a place to be creative, I don't know what it's like price-wise to live in Vermont, but that's your place. And I think you would find that people there would be a bit quirky. To me, that would be the nature of Vermont. And, there's some very beautiful, like there were a number of pictures of water that I could have used and wanted to use, and I ultimately did use. So Vermont does have access to water, rivers, lakes, etc. And I think probably very deep aquifers, which you would find with all those Pisces planets in the fourth house. And there's a radical part to Vermont, right? And this is where the University of Vermont comes in. And it is a radical educational center. You've got Uranus in the ninth house. My ex-wife went to the University of Vermont. She's a catamount. And she got a double degree in literature and psychology, and she studied feminist literature. Like, I did not find this out until later. And it was like, oh my God, this explains everything. This explains everything. This was your training. And that's Uranus in the ninth house. So university, that's the ninth house, right? University of Vermont is radical. And you go down to the third house where you have Mercury and Pluto, and that's sort of information. And to some degree, there's some teaching involved with Mercury there and the Pluto conjunction. But it's transformational, right? It's not it's extreme. There's an extreme element, and that element comes through the educational system and primarily the collegiate component of it with Uranus there. So while the place itself could be sleepy and kind of traditional, maybe a little conservative, right? Like, leave us alone. I mean, that's really like the sun in the fourth house. Just, you live your life, I live mine. And you get that in that area of the world, whether it's Vermont or New Hampshire or Maine. They have that, they're at the tip of the country. It's kind of like, leave us alone. We'll live our lives and just stay the fuck out of our business, right? So you see that here, right down there. And I think it might be, it'd be interesting experiment to go there and live there for a while, because the true node is in the 11th house. And Neptune is over there. So Vermont is, Vermont should be friendly. You should be able to plug in and find your group, find your tribe in Vermont. But I feel like the energy there with the people is a lot of old souls, a lot of, and I think the weather also has something to do with that. Like it I wouldn't say it hardens people, but it weathers them. And when you have that balsamic moon, there's like a weathering effect with that moon. Saturn is in Aries, so Vermont is going through its Saturn return. Happy Saturn return, Vermont. And Vermont is Cancer, Chiron in Cancer, in the 8th house. I feel like that's an interesting. Chiron's part of this grand trine. If we throw it in there with Chiron, Neptune, and the Moon, and the aforementioned creative element is in there, right? But Vermont's also a little spooky with Chiron in Cancer in the 8th house. My Mars is conjunct Vermont's Chiron. That's interesting. Virgo midheaven. I do think that there's some judgment. And you've got Jupiter and Virgo in the 10th house. I think that there could be some judgment there. A little bit of judgment. You're too radical. You're too conservative. And Scorpio rising. Bernie Sanders happens to be, a Virgo? So his sun is somewhere up here at the top of Vermont's chart. Right? And Bernie's got Mars in Aries, which I always thought was weird. It's like it's so anti-Virgo. And you would think, like, he has all that passion for going after the corporations. The corporations get by without paying their fair share of taxes. And he's got that, he's got that fighter energy until, of course, when it comes time to be elected president. He's got that Mars and Aries energy to take on the corporations. And then when push comes to shove, he becomes a meek Virgo. And it's like his superpower just goes away and he rolls over. But he's very prominent in Vermont's chart, his sun, right? His sun is somewhere between here and here, and that's going to be prominent. Very, very prominent. Here's my sense about this state. And also I think it's cool here is Sagittarius in the 1st house. And that's like exploring the outdoors. And I went through these different like images of Vermont, and they were beautiful, stunning, like lots of, deep nature there. And I think with the part of fortune in the 1st house, Is that where Tucker Carlson's living? He's either living in Vermont or Maine, one of those two places. I forget which. It might be Maine. But Vermont invites you with that part of fortune to go out, to explore, to hike, to canoe, to really get into the expansive nature of nature. I don't know about relationships there. Taurus on the descendant, looking for stability. Gemini in the 7th house. You better be able to communicate. You better be able to find somebody that you have a similar language with. Let's put it that way. When I say language, I don't mean speaking the same language, like English or Spanish or German or whatever. I'm talking about the language of the everyday life, right? Okay, so there you go. There's your happy Saturn return, Vermont. Okay, we're out of here. Thanks for being here. I'll be over on 15, getting the rant on. Link is in the chat. I wish everybody a beautiful day, a blessed day, and a creative day. Staying with the theme. Be bold, be creative, be imaginative. And if you have the skill, hone your artistry. All right, take care. Love to all. Bye for now.